Hello, chess fans. Welcome to another edition of Chess Chat, a program brought to you live from the Rollstone Bank and Trust Studio at Fitchburg Access Television. I am your host, George Marajanian, Program Director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club, the second oldest chess club in Massachusetts, meets every Wednesday evening in rooms 142 and 143 in the McKay campus complex at the university. And with me once again for this edition of Chess Chat is our award-winning director, Darren Dame of Fitchburg, recipient of FATV's prestigious Boulder Award in 2009. And assisting him in the control room and also on camera is fellow resident and longtime Wachusett Chess Club member, Brian Bigelow. And sitting across from me is my longtime associate, colleague, fellow Wachusett Chess Club member, club statistician, club photographer, chess author, my man of all trades, Dave Couture of Westminster. Hello, Dave.
Hi, George. How are you?
Very good, Dave. Always good seeing you for every edition of Chess Chat. Well, Dave, exactly a week ago, we had a major tournament end in New England. Mm-hmm. It was actually held in Westford, Massachusetts. It was the 82nd New England Open Championship. Mm-hmm. And we now have new New England champions. And they happen to be International Master Alexander Ivanov of Newton, Massachusetts, and International Master Dennis Shmelov, now of Wakefield, Massachusetts. He was actually, we used to know him when we lived in Pepperell.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Now, Ivanov was born in Russia, came to this country in 1988, but Shmelov now is 37. There's a 30-year difference between them. Mm-hmm. But again, they actually tied for first in this event, which was held in Westford at the Westford Regency Inn. And the way it was done is that in this 6-round tournament, by the way, this tournament had 218 players, mm-hmm. a good turnout. In the 4th round of the championship section, Ivanov defeated Shmelov mm-hmm. to go a full point ahead with 2 rounds left.
Right.
So here he is, Ivanov 1 point ahead of Shmelov with 2 rounds to go. What happens is Ivanov, who has that full point lead, draws his last 2 games to get 1 point, and Shmelov is able actually to win both his games to tie him. So they ended up with 5 points apiece. Mm-hmm. So they are actually champions for 2023. And by the way, we had 8 Wachusett Chess Club players mm-hmm. compete in this event. So I'm very happy that we had local support from the players. Yeah. All right, now, Ivanov actually, I have stats on Ivanov. He's a former New England, he's actually a multi-time Massachusetts state champion, 14 times.
Really?
14 times he's done it. And but he also is also a multi-time New England champion. He's done this. This is not the first time, but both Shmelov and Ivanov tied before in the New England Open Championship.
Really? Wow.
And that was in 2008. They tied. In fact, they tied with one other player. 2008, there were 3 co-champions: Alexander Ivanov, Dennis Shmelov, and Alex Cherniak.
Okay.
There's a familiar name, National Master Alex Cherniak. But Ivanov actually has won the New England Championship 14 times, 4 of which were as co-champion. Okay. Whereas Shmelov has won it 5 times, 4 times as co-champion. But in 2016, he was able to win it on his own, clear, mm-hmm. Not sharing any titles with anybody. Okay. Yep. So, what else can we say about Ivanov and Shmelov?
Ivanov on.
Oh yeah, this is Alexander Ivanov. Again, as I said, he was born in Russia. Is now 67 years old. What else can I say about him? I have all kinds of stats on him. Yeah, he was born May 1st, 1956 in Russia. Came to this country. I've known him for the past 35 years. Mm-hmm. And he won with Ilya Gurevich. That's the name familiar with you, mm-hmm. Who became a grandmaster. Ilya Gurevich, who grew up in Worcester. Yep. He tied with Ilya Gurevich in the 1988 Massachusetts State Championship. They were co-champions, state mm-hmm. co-champions. So that's what Ivanov did when he came to this country. And again, Shmelov, now I found out, here is what I have. Shmelov, who was born actually in 1986, came to the United States at the age of 19 in 2006.
There's his picture.
There's a photo that Darren has of Dennis Shmelov, who came to this country at the age of 19 in 2006.
From Ukraine, right?
From Ukraine, yes.
Yeah.
He was born in Ukraine, and by the way, still plays under the Ukrainian flag.
Okay.
When he plays in competition, in the international competition, he is listed as Ukrainian player, but he is a Ukrainian American player. Yeah. And by the way, he won the Massachusetts State Championship at the age of 21 in the year 2008. 2 years after he came to this country, he was the state champion for Massachusetts. And then he actually was also, in fact, he was the Massachusetts State Championship last year, 2022. Okay. He won it. So these are the two of the strongest chess players in New England, and very active. Yeah. Of course, Alexander Ivanov is the most active.
Yeah.
He's definitely the most active grandmaster in Massachusetts. And by the way, if he can win the Massachusetts Open, the state championship, let's see, 4 more times, he will break John Curtill's record of most number of state championship wins. Yeah. Yep. But that's going to be hard. At the age of 67, that's going to be very difficult. So what I think we should do is get into the game that we're going to present. It's a game that both these guys, Ivanov and Shmelov, played in 2016 in the Pillsbury Memorial Tournament.
Right.
And it's a fascinating game. That's why we selected this game to show our viewers. And in this game, Ivanov had white.
Yes.
What did he play as his first move in that game for the Pillsbury Memorial 2016?
Plays E4.
Okay, a very good move.
The most common.
We have played this many, many times. Yep. Okay, very common. All right, in response to that, what do we have here? I got to find actually the game. So he plays C6, right? The pawn is C6. Now, we have played this numerous times. What is this called?
It's the Caro-Kann.
Caro-Kann defense, okay. Very, very popular defense.
Yep.
So how did Ivanov continue? Second move, what did he do?
Most common reply is D4. You know, basically white is always going to do this if black allows him.
Right, okay, so we have 2 pawns in the center.
Yep.
Okay, what does Shmelov do? Second move, he plays the pawn to D5. All right, so he's now attacking the other pawn on E4.
Right. Okay,
so white has to make a decision. Either what are the choices for white here?
I'm not a Caro-Kann player, so I don't even know what is.
Well, could you advance the pawn?
You could advance.
Okay,
you could exchange.
Right. Or defend the pawn.
Or defend the pawn, which is what he does. Knight to C3, defending the E-pawn.
Right, he defended this way. Knight C3 is his move. Okay. All right. Shmelov, he decides he's going to capture the pawn on E4 with the D pawn. D takes E4 is his move. Okay. So we go see it on our screen. D takes C4. Yep, we see it now. Yep, there it is. D pawn takes on E4,
and of course Ivanov captures back.
Right. Knight takes E4 is his move. All right. Black's move, Shmelov's move. What does he do? The bishop on C8 goes to F5 and attacks the knight.
Right.
Okay. All right. So white has to make the decision. Do we defend that knight or do we
move it somewhere.
Move it.
Right.
Yeah. Avoid being captured. Okay.
Right.
What does Ivanov choose?
So he moves it to G3, which attacks the bishop that just attacked the knight.
And that's actually, would you call this gaining a tempo?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, this in chess is what we call gaining a tempo. It's gaining time. Now, with the attack on the bishop...
It sort of works out even, right?
Yeah, it does, right.
Yeah.
It does outwork even. So the knight went back to G3. So Shmelov says, I'm not going to keep that bishop there. I'm going to retreat it. Bishop G6. He brings it. He keeps the bishop on this diagonal. Yeah. Okay. It is now Ivanov's move. It's his sixth move. Now comes something rather interesting.
Yeah, this isn't typical in most openings. He plays knight to H3. Usually the knight comes out to F3. But
yes.
I think the idea here is that he could hop here and attack the bishop.
So that was the whole purpose of going. Usually bringing a knight to the side of the board
is not a good idea, right.
What's that old saying in chess?
Knight on the rim is dim.
A knight on the rim is dim. Yeah. But in this case, he has a plan to bring it to F4 and attack the bishop and get rid of the bishop. All right. Here is Shmelov's response. He plays the pawn to E6 now, which now opens up now for the dark square bishop to come out. Okay. Ivanov's move now, his seventh move, what does he do?
Like we said, he plays knight to F4, attacking the bishop.
Right. Okay. So the bishop's under attack. So what Shmelov does says, well, hey, I can't say that, Bishop. I might as well continue with my piece development by playing the bishop to d6. All right, so the bishop is now on d6. Both players have developed two minor pieces. Okay, but it is now Ivanov's move, his eighth move. What does he do?
This is kind of an interesting opening. So he plays the knight on g to h5, attacking the pawn on g7.
He chooses not to take that bishop.
Right, he could have taken. Yep.
No, he could have taken, but he decided he wants to go here with the attack, the knight attacking the g pawn. If he takes, it would check. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So here is what the Shmelov does. He takes the knight. Bishop takes h5. Bishop takes the knight on h5.
Right.
That's his move, and of course, we're going to see that on a board, on a screen.
Up there.
It's already there. And of course, Ivanov's move is automatic. Yeah.
I suppose he could have taken with the queen.
Right. Yes, he could take it the queen, but of course it would come under attack. Yeah, right.
But he takes with the knight, again, attacking that pawn on g7.
All right. Okay, so knight takes, h5, which he does. All right. So now, Shmelov advances the pawn to g6 and attacks the knight.
Yep.
Okay. Now, one thing that we should actually show is that what a beginner might make, but an advanced player would never do.
Right.
A beginner would do what?
Probably just go here with check.
But then the king would move over to f8, and there's no way
nowhere for the knight.
The knight can't retreat.
Right. So
the knight is now lost.
Yep.
So that would be a blunder.
Right.
But that would be a typical beginner's, a very ranked beginner's move. All right, so on g6, what does Ivanov do?
Retreats it to f4.
All right, so knight e4. Okay, so here is where Shmelov now plays on his 10th move. It is 10th move, knight to e7. Knight e7, developing another piece. And right now he's got two pieces. Actually, black has two pieces developed, versus now the one piece.
Right.
This knight has been hopping around here.
Right, yeah.
This knight on f4 has gone from h3 to f4, to taking h5 and then back to f4.
Yep.
So it's done a lot of traveling, the same piece. Okay, so it is now Ivanov's move. What does he do?
g3.
Okay.
Getting ready to fianchetto the bishop.
Okay, so he wants to place the bishop on that on the diagonal fianchetto. He wants the fianchetto. All right. Shmelov wants now to develop another piece, bring another piece into play. Plays the knight on b8, d7. So we bring the knight to d7, and we now see it on our screen. Knight d7. All right, Ivanov's now 12th move. What is he? Well, he carries out his plan.
As promised, bishop to g2.
Bishop d2 is played.
Now he's ready to castle.
Okay, so now Shmelov plays the knight to d5. Brings the knight on d5. Attacks the knight on f4. Of course, it's adequately defended.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, so it's now Ivanov's turn. What does he do now on his 13th move? Does he want to allow a capture on f4? If that knight stays, if the knight stays on f4, that could be captured.
He's going to end up with doubled.
Oh wait, yes.
F-pawns.
No, actually, Ivanov cannot allow that. That's right. That knight cannot stay there. No.
So he plays knight to d3.
Yes.
Which is a nice square. It's covering both of those.
Right. He had to do that. He could not actually allow that exchange on f4. So he had to play knight d3. All right. Here is where now Shmelov now starts playing queenside play here. Plays the pawn to b5. b5 is his move. Okay. All right. All right. So what is Ivanov going to do in response to b5?
So he's able to castle, so he does.
Okay, and this is move 14.
Move 14.
This is rather late. Yeah, this is actually usually chess games.
Relatively late, yeah.
Yeah, right. Usually when one castles, it's earlier than move 14.
Right.
Well, Shmelov does the same thing.
Yep.
He castles on move 14. So we have both of them castled, king side. All right. It is now Ivanov's 15th move. What does he do here on move 15?
Plays c3.
Okay, adds further defense of that pawn.
Support to the pawn.
Okay, that's a good move. All right. Now, Shmelov realizes there's no future keeping this rook on f8.
Right.
So he brings it over here with the possibility of supporting the advance of this e-pawn.
Right.
Because he's got support. You got the bishop and the knight, and of course now with the rook.
The rook
so there is the possibility, of advancing. But It is now Ivanov's move. It's his 16th move. What does he do?
And he decides to get active on the queen side with a4.
Okay, so he's attacking the b pawn, which is defended by the c pawn. But what Shmelov does is plays the pawn to a6.
Right.
So he has another defender, a6. So there's adequate defense here on the black side here. So how does Ivanov continue? It's his move 17 coming up. What does he do?
Develops his bishop to d2.
Right, yeah. Because no other, because he's not going to, maybe it's not wise for him. He could come down to h6, but what does that accomplish?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He realizes he just want to stay and wait to see what black does here.
Sure, yeah.
So bishop d2. All right. So Shmelov decided, well, why is my bishop on d6? I brought this out to develop it, but I think I want to redeploy this bishop. And he brings the bishop back to f8. He brings it back because it looks like he wants to fianchetto.
Sure, yeah.
And that's his plan now. He's changed his plan now. All right. So it's now Ivanov's 18th move. What does he do?
Now he develops queen to e2, connecting his rooks.
Okay. Good move.
Yep.
Yep. Being able to connect the rooks. All right. All right. So now Shmelov carries out his plan of fianchettoing his dark square bishop and plays bishop g7. All right. So now he's got the bishop on g6. But of course, that bishop is basically biting on granite. Look at that wall.
Right.
Look at the wall that white's a pawn.
Pawn chain. Yeah.
The pawn on a2, b2, c3, d4. That's a wall.
Right. Yep.
That's a solid wall.
Yep.
Okay. It is now Ivanov's 19th move. What is he doing?
Knight e5.
Now, does he have a threat? Is there something unprotected here, like a knight on this pawn on c3?
c6. Yeah.
Oh, that could be yes. That seems to be yes. Yeah. So that pawn on c6 could either be protected, like with the queen, but no. Shmelov decides, hey, I'm going to get rid of that knight. We'll just exchange.
Yep.
Knight takes on e5. Let's get rid of that knight once and for all. And how does actually Ivanov recapture?
He has to recapture with the pawn.
Takes with the pawn. Okay. All right. It's Shmelov's move. Okay, coming up. He plays the queen to c7. Does he have a threat?
Yeah, he's attacking. Right, he's attacking this pawn twice with the queen and the bishop.
So he's threatening to win that pawn.
Yep.
So that looks like that pawn on e5 needs further defense.
Needs another defender, so he plays rook on f to e1.
Right, exactly.
Not a defender.
He plays the rook on f, over to e1. Now this rook that was on here on e8 now, which is blocked by its pawn here on d6.
Right.
So you know what? I guess this not being here is not so good after all.
Right.
So he brings the rook on e8 over to d8. So he gets onto the open file.
The open file, yeah.
Okay, so he's on d8. And that was actually his 21st move. All right, so now comes a very interesting move. And I have a comment. You probably have a comment in response to this.
Well, I don't know I'm not sure what the point is, but...
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
Your point is exactly my point. Why do you think Ivanov did that? Because I am of the belief that he actually does not know what to do. I mean,
he doesn't have a plan.
This is like a waiting move. Okay, he says, I could do this, just move the king, and just wait to see what black's going to do.
Respond to that.
Because really, it's the case of I really don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I gotta come up with a plan.
Yeah.
But right now, it's a very convenient waiting move where I can do that. I can shuffle back and forth with the king, and wait until black does something. Maybe black does something stupid.
Right.
And make a mistake. All right. So after king h1 on the second move, so Shmelov now says, okay, I'm going to bring this rook on a8 over to b8. I think I want to come here, possibly, maybe by taking the pawn and attacking the pawn on b2.
Sure.
Yeah. Which is there's no protection right now on that pawn on b2.
Right.
All right. So what does Ivanov do now on move 23?
So first he plays a takes b5.
Right. Okay. And Shmelov has to recapture, and he's got actually 3 different ways to do it.
Sure. Yeah.
2 with pawns, or 1 with the rook. And he decides to take with the a pawn.
Mm-hmm.
He takes a takes b5, and that's his move.
Yep.
All right, so now that's done. All right, let's continue. It's white's move. Ivanov's now 24th move.
So he plays f4, so completely fixing that pawn on e5.
Right. So he's got further defense on the pawn on e5.
Yep.
That's defended 3 ways. The rook, the queen, and the pawn on f4. So that's solid. That's solid defense of the pawn on e5 there. All right. Here is where Shmelov now plays the pawn on c6 to advances the pawn to c5. So that's where he is, c5. Okay. Now, maybe is he threatening to advance it even a little further? Like maybe go to
either this pawn or that pawn, I guess could.
Yeah, right. So there's a possibility of advancing here. All right, it's now Ivanov's move 25.
b3.
Okay, so probably he fears the advance.
This push, right.
Okay.
So he wants to stop that.
But that doesn't stop actually black from advancing anyway.
Right.
Even if the pawn stayed on b3, and even on the pawn on b3 now.
Right.
Shmelov can advance, and he did advance the pawn to c4. So he advances here, now attacks the pawn on b3, undefended pawn on b3.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is Ivanov going to do? And I think this is a critical point in the game here.
Well,
he decided to take.
Yeah, right.
Now, he could actually advance the pawn. He could have.
Sure. Right, yeah. He could
let's show that.
Right, he could have completely locked it up.
He could have locked it up, and actually, I think he would have been safer.
It would seem so, yeah.
I think he would have been safer locking the pawns than actually allowing this recapture of b takes c4 by Shmelov.
Okay. We're being given a signal to speed up.
Okay, we'll do it. Okay. Now, it is now Ivanov's move. What does he do? Oh, yes.
Rook a2.
Yes. He doesn't want a rook to come down to b2 and pin the bishop, so he plays rook a2. Now, here is where Shmelov plays the rook to b3. What's his threat? Does he have a threat here?
No, he's got two pieces on that pawn.
So he's threatening actually to win a pawn.
Yep.
He's got the knight and the rook attacking the pawn on c3. So
Ivanov defends it again with rook c1.
Rook c1, he plays that. All right, now, this is incredible.
Yeah.
When you saw this bishop maneuver by Shmelov right from the beginning, he's now back to f8. He brings the bishop. He said, well, you know what? This idea of bringing it back, encountering the bishop, I got another plan.
Yeah.
This is my plan. I bring in the bishop f8, which he does, which is idea. Now he has more scope now with the bishop on f8. What is Ivanov doing now? It's his move 29 coming up, right?
He makes a move that the computer thinks is a mistake.
Ooh.
Queen e1.
It adds further defense on the pawn, but the computer does not like this move.
Yeah.
Did it have a recommendation for a better move?
It was suggesting pushing the pawn here and then putting the king behind it.
I see, giving actually an escape square, another escape square for the king on h2. All right, so it doesn't like, the computer does not like queen e1. Here is where now Shmelov plays the bishop to a3, attacks the rook on c1.
Right.
All right, now, where that rook has to save itself. Where does that rook go?
Puts it on b1.
Okay, plays the rook on b1. Offering exchange of rooks, okay, but Shmelov is not going to exchange. He's going to first play queen c5. That's what he does.
Yep.
Queen c, he advances the queen up to here. Okay, so now it's Ivanov's move. It's a 31st move coming up. What does he do?
Plays bishop to e4. Adding another defender to this rook.
Okay, so he has a defender with the bishop on bishop e4. All right, now here is the opportunity that Shmelov was waiting for, to double his rooks on the open file. He brings the rook on d8 over to b8. Okay, so
almost always a good idea.
It's always good if you can double rooks. Double rooks, either on a file or a rank. Do it. It's highly recommended if you can do that. Double rooks. All right, what does actually Ivanov do now? He doesn't want to.
He can't sit there because otherwise.
No. And he can't take and allow the pawn to take
become passed. Right.
Yeah, right.
So he plays rook to d1.
Rook to d1. But now we have this bishop on a3 coming to b2, and now we're piling up on that pawn on c3.
Right. So
we got three pieces. So what is Ivanov going to do now on his 30 move?
And here the game basically becomes lost.
Yes.
His best bet was to try and force an exchange of queens.
Yes. Yeah.
But he plays bishop to c2. It looks like a reasonable move. He's attacking this rook.
It does look reasonable.
Yeah.
However, this is going to have consequences. Dire consequences. Because after bishop c2, what Shmelov did with the bishop, he takes the pawn on c3. Bishop takes c3 is his move, okay?
Yeah.
And what Ivanov does...
It looks like he's winning the exchange here. He takes the rook.
He's winning the rook for the bishop.
Yeah.
After bishop takes b3, and of course...
But this is the key, right?
This is the key. This is a big turning point in the game. Shmelov takes back with the pawn. C takes b3, which attacks the rook on a2.
And then now it's 2 squares away from queening.
Oh, wow. If he can get that pawn down to b1, he's got a queen.
So
the rook
Ivanov plays rook a6.
a6. And here is where Shmelov goes queen to c4, which attacks this rook on a6, forcing that rook to move to save itself. Where does it go?
Which he does. He goes to d6.
Rook d6.
Yeah.
Okay, now here is where Shmelov says, okay, now it's time to exchange. Bishop takes the bishop on d2. Bishop takes d2, and how does Ivanov take back? Does he take back with the queen? He takes back with the queen.
He takes d2.
But by taking the queen off the e1 square, which protects a very key square in the game, the position, Shmelov is able to play queen e4 check, and now he has to move or block. But he chooses to move the king to g1, and then unfortunately he realizes now with this move b2, he cannot stop Shmelov from stopping from queening, promoting to a queen, and this is where he resigned.
Right.
Ivanov resigned when he saw that this was a mistake, allowing by playing that queen take on d2, allowing this check, this little Zwischenzug in between move, which allowed them. So, anyways, we've reached the end of the game in time.
It's plenty of time. Yeah.
You know, our viewers don't realize that, this was a lengthy game. This was a 38-move game. Usually, we don't present to our viewers a lengthy game, which gives us less time to do more analyzing. But again, we were able to get a fast. This was a very fascinating game.
Yeah.
And by the way, as I pointed out, and you confirmed it, this game you cannot find online.
Oh yeah, right.
If you were to Google Alexander Ivanov, Denis Shmelov, you would not find this game.
Yeah.
And I thought we should present it because I thought it was a very interesting game, very instructive game.
And it's a game that Shmelov won, whereas in the recent New England Open, he lost.
That's right, he lost
Ivanov. Yeah.
Right. But again, they are declared co-champions, even though Ivanov beat Shmelov.
Right.
If they end up with the same score, they're declared state champions. Yeah, right, exactly. Now, do I have time with the very little time remaining?
Got another minute.
Okay. I want to mention some of the players from our club who played. I want to give them a recognition.
Yep.
One of them happened to be Pragyan Sriram. Pragyan Sriram won the last tournament of the Washington Chess Club, the Francis W. Scanlon Second Memorial Tournament.
Yeah.
It's in honor of the late Frank Scanlon, who was with the club many years. And again, he played. Pragyan Sriram won that tournament.
And how old is he?
Oh, he's young. He's probably a teenager. I don't know his exact age.
Okay.
But in addition to Pragyan, there was Sean Su, Frank Cow, Mike Camiso, who directs tournaments at the Washington Chess Club, and Chris Cooey, and Renee Manalgaro, who's been with him a long time, Yan Lee. And those 8 players, I want to applaud them for playing in the New England Open. And I want to thank our viewers for watching the game that Dave and I presented to you. We pledge. We're going to present to you a very interesting next program. We won't tell you what it is. You'll know what it is when you see it next time on Chess Chat.